Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Eye Test FC. Festive fixtures delight for Arsenal and Liverpool. Cheers. Well, where do we begin? 2 wins in 2 for both Arsenal and Liverpool over this festive period. But all the other top 6 teams kind of struggled. Starting off with Boxing Day, everyone else basically lost. Noteworthy results, probably Everton Man City at the Etihad with Iliman Ndiaye's well-taken goal to equalise. Man City didn't do anything noteworthy rest of the game. Neither did Everton, so I guess it was a point earned. But yeah, City can't seem to buy a win at this point, which is ironic. But yeah, I mean, moving on, because there's not much else to be said about City. Man United lose again. Spurs lose again. And sure, Man United, it's a new manager, but for Tottenham, I worry for Ange. I really do. Because with that loss against Liverpool the previous week, now against Nottingham away from home, it just seemed like there's no identity. You know, it seems a bit like Unai Emery's Arsenal in the season he got sacked. They don't have anything going for them. It just seems like a very laboured performance. Son has really dropped off this season and there isn't really anything great to say about them. Sure, Kulusevski has had good periods of, the season, but again, it just seems like a laboured Tottenham performance. And moving on to Leicester City versus Liverpool at Anfield, it would have been an excellent hate watch. Sure, I'm being greedy as an Arsenal fan for hoping for 5-on-5, but 4-on-5 is pretty good because Liverpool did what Liverpool do best, which is win. And for early parts of that game, they went behind, but they created so many chances. And look, in this podcast, we've spoken so much about Salah, and rightly so, because he's having a phenomenal season, even by his high standards. On Sky, Carragher kind of mentioned that if he takes Liverpool to the league title, he goes to the top 3 Liverpool players next to Gerrard and Dalglish. So of course, Salah has gotten his flowers, and rightly so. But in this game, I wanted to highlight Gakpo, because Gakpo is bailing Liverpool out in moments where they seem to be in trouble. Liverpool haven't gone a goal behind very often this season. And every time they have, Gakpo is the one who has bailed them out. Not every time, but most times. He's done that against Fulham at home a few weeks ago with a carbon copy of a goal which he scored against Leicester City on Boxing Day. That goal was actually so well taken, so well timed, and he's chipping in with those performances, not just from a stats, goals, assists perspective, but his all-round play. And I think right now he's Liverpool's best centre forward, or yeah, he's playing a bit from the left, but he's playing that role really well, and I think Jota is going to have a tough time displacing him in that team. So is Nunez. But, well, that was Liverpool. Over to Arsenal, who were playing for the first time without Saka. Laboured to a 1-0 win, this time against a very, very low block of Ipswich Town at home. Sure, not the most glamorous result, but at this stage of the season, Arsenal just have to grind out wins. And that was a hard-fought win. Ipswich didn't really create anything. But again, Arsenal have to win, unlike their performance against Everton a couple of weeks ago. And they did that. And that's good game management. It's calm win, no injuries. So everything on the right track for the next game week. And what a game week it was, right? Chelsea lose again. So they lost twice in 2 weeks. This time against Ipswich at Portman Road. And what a performance. 2 well-taken goals by Liam Delap and Omari Hutchinson. Portman Road was really under the lights. You could feel that atmosphere. You could feel that they wanted that win. And Kieran McKenna has done a fabulous job to just orchestrate that win. Omari Hutchinson celebrated, by the way. And you could just feel that after these two results, Chelsea are going to be found out a little bit, right? Because in the beginning of the season, teams attacked Chelsea. It was a new manager. They didn't really know what they were to expect. And teams attacked Chelsea. And that created a lot of space in behind. You would have, Caicedo breaking the lines, giving it to your Maduekes, your Cole Palmers, your Nicholas Jacksons, your Pedro Netos. And they would score. They would be exciting to watch. They would be creative to watch because teams gave them that space. And now when teams fall back into that mid-block, into that low block, you see that Chelsea are starting to struggle. And they haven't found answers yet. And maybe they will find answers, but I think it'll be too late. But again, being in the Champions League itself after the disappointing few years that Chelsea have had is a huge achievement for them. So I think their fans should be happy. Of course, not with 2 losses in 2 games, but if you look at a macro, big picture sort of situation, they should be happy. I think they're scouting in the right direction as well, and they're going to be doing just fine under Enzo Maresca. A team that is worrying with their flat performance and with team selection is Man United, who lost again 2-0, this time at home against Newcastle. And I get it's a new manager and he needs time. And I saw on Twitter that some Madrid fans were saying that those are not the standards of Man United. Like Lopetegui was sacked at Real Madrid a few weeks into his tenure for the same string of results and points that Amorim has had. But I think it's a very different beast, and I think he does need time. I think United fans would agree with me there. But this performance, this team selection was just wrong. You're going against Bruno Guimaraes, Joelinton, Tonali. That midfield 3 is powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful in the league, bar none. And you're playing a double pivot of Christian Eriksen and Casemiro, who are on the wrong side of 30. Of course, with Man United, there's soap opera, right? Xerxes being subbed off in 33 minutes for Kobe Mainoo made absolutely no difference that game. And I'm really terrified because Man United are going to Anfield in the weekend. And it's not if Liverpool win, it's how many goals Liverpool score. And look, I get the only team that Man United have taken points off, basically is Man City away from home. And the charm of the Premier League is any team can win. But this just feels like a big, big loss for Man United. I really hope they park the bus, shut shop and, try to break with pace down the wings. But I really, really fear for them. And look, they're not alien from an embarrassing result in the last few years. I feel Man United have broken their own records of worst performances season on season. And I really hope that they put in a showing at Anfield. But it's going to be a long season for them nonetheless. Now let's move to the other 2 games, the Arsenal and the Liverpool game. Let's start with the Liverpool game. Away at West Ham, 5-0. Brilliant performance from Liverpool again. I'm really, really sick and annoyed of the superlatives that I have to give Liverpool. I don't even want to talk about Salah. I've already spoken about him this episode. But if I don't talk about Salah, I have to talk about Trent because of his well-taken goal from 30 yards out or whatever. What can you say? It's just 5-star performance by Liverpool. One thing that surprised me with West Ham was for none of those 5 goals, apart from Trent, they were attacking. All 4 goals came in transition for Liverpool. Take nothing away from Liverpool and their performance, but all 4 goals came in transition. I get you're playing at home in front of your own fans, but be a bit more pragmatic. Try to take the game get Liverpool a bit nervous. They're the ones who are trying to, fight for the title. West Ham aren't really playing for anything this season. I think they'll survive. So yeah, I hope to see more defensive steel from them. And, it was more of hope than expectation because I saw them play against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago and they conceded 5.5. So I kind of saw this result coming, but I did expect more from them. I hope that they would learn from their mistakes and hold a better performance against Liverpool, knowing the threat that Liverpool are going forward. And look, I'm trying to poke holes, right? But after 19 games, which Liverpool will be in a couple of days' time when they beat Man United, they'll be on 48 points. 48 points halfway through the season is fantastic, is excellent. And for all the context, the early season where, Liverpool didn't really have a great summer in recruitment, they've done a fabulous job. And kudos to them. There's nothing more to say. Like, you can find ways to say, maybe they might bottle it, they might choke. Liverpool haven't been tested, they're not as defensively strong. None of that matters. 48 points after 19 games, fair play. Like, it's their title to lose. They're 6 points ahead with a game in hand. They will be 48 after 19 games, as I said. It's theirs to lose. I cannot believe, I'm lost for words, I'm speechless that Liverpool are where they are. Because I always believe football is going to a direction where you need to have, a project, like with Arteta, like with Pep, like with Klopp before Arne Slot took over. So you see these kind of teams doing well, and what Liverpool are doing is just incredible. They haven't had a dip all season. Thomas Frank said that as well. They haven't had a dip all season, and I think that dip will come. I expect teams to be playing a bit more pragmatic against Liverpool. I think in a fortnight they play Ipswich. I think they play Nottingham a bit before that. They play Brentford away from home, and I think teams will be a bit more pragmatic against Liverpool. And that's kind of when the other teams around them need to be really on it to close that gap. Otherwise, Liverpool are just going to run away with it. And speaking of teams who need to close that gap, what better way to round off the episode than to talk about Arsenal? Look, I get Arsenal fans would say it's been a year where Arsenal have not played great football. I think teams have just sat back against Arsenal. It's difficult for Arsenal to break that low block. And I've mentioned low block so many times this episode. But I feel like of late, Arsenal are finding ways to break that. And that performance last night against Brentford, guys, this is a team who's had the best home record in the Premier League until yesterday. They went a goal up thanks to a player who's been on fire this season. And Arsenal held their nerve, was calm. No Havertz, no Saka, no White for a long time. And they came up with that performance where at the end of that game, it didn't look like that result was in doubt, but believe me, it was. And that's massive. That's huge for Arsenal. And one thing that really stood out to me this game was Arteta's game management. When the game was over in the last 5 minutes, he ended the game with a midfield three of Jorginho, Rice and Partey. And that's echoing a little bit what Everton do with their midfield three. And I think Arsenal ended that game with a 5-3-2 or a 6-3-1. And I think you'll see that more and more often as, he would not want to just go all in. And I think that's what dominance is in football today. And the reason I say that is that Mbeumo goal was well taken. Maybe Raya was at his fault for being beaten near post. But that goal was an XG of 0.06. Right? Which means if a player takes that shot 100 times, 6 out of those 100 times it would go in. And I saw this stat on Twitter that amazed me. Out of the 17 goals that Arsenal have conceded this season, 9 of those goals were under zero point 0.1 xg. And apart from this at Brentford, none of those were really Raya's fault. And I think over the course of a season, that luck would even itself out. And to give that optimism to Arsenal fans, I think the numbers show that they're kind of the best defense in the league this season. But when you look in May, back at the whole season, I think Arsenal's defensive numbers would be a mile better than the second best team. A mile better. And because of that, I really don't think the title is done. It is Liverpool's title to lose, as I've said. But I do think that it'll go down to the wire. Well, that about wraps it up for the recap of this week and last week. Next week, interesting couple of games, both for Liverpool and Arsenal. I did touch upon the Liverpool game where they play United at Anfield. Arsenal do play Brighton at the Amex, which is going to be a very tricky game. Timber's suspended, no Ben White, no Saka as usual. I hope Havertz is fit and Wanyeris performs as well as he has this week. But that's it at the iTest FC. See you guys next week and Happy New Year.